What is up, gamers? Bad news. While we were doing the combat that we didn't get to do it in the first session, we finished session 1.5. However, Streamlabs decided not to record the whole thing. So you're going to see part of it, but the rest is not recorded. So I have written out what happened in the combat and after the combat. So if you want to listen to this, you can, but you really don't have to. So the first combat went kind of like this. Isaac, on his opening action, killed the warrior, stabbed him 8 times right in the back, killing him almost instantly. As the warrior went down, one of the mages took notice, and that was when combat formally started. Combat did not take too long, since there were only 3 enemies left, since Isaac decided to backstab a man 8 times. The monk had a fun time grappling with prey in the water, but the monk ended up swimming with the fishes in the end. The butterfly mage had set up a portal in order to make a trick shot, but sadly it blew up in his face and ultimately led to his downfall. The human mage managed to make a portal beneath beneath herself and on the ceiling in order to make some distance, kind of like how it works in the Portal game. You know. Surprisingly, she did not hurt herself on the landing. This went well at first, since she got far away. Mages aren't that good at close combat. Up until good old Burnell decided to show her who's boss. Burnell ran up to her and kicked her with the force of 100 bears, making short work of that mage. After combat ended, they then looted the bodies, yada yada. In the room that they were in, they decided to try and look for the magic artifact that the bandits were looking for, to no avail. Isaac knew it wasn't in that room and continued going forward. So they went to the next room and were immediately spotted by the rest of the bandits. A lookout in the middle of the room, with 2 warriors and a priest in the back of the room. The lookout, who shall henceforth be called Tinkerer, took a pot shot at our good friend Trey, who shrugged it off like a champ. After getting shot, Trey used literally all of his actions to put on his full armor set of Valhalla, which, editor's note, change it so we can't put it all on in one turn. Moving on. After Trey finished doing that, Isaac decided to book it to the passage on the other side of the cave in order to attract at least the attention of one of the enemies. He was successful with his plan, and one of the warriors moved to him. While Isaac was running, he saw their 4th companion, Niter, shackled and forced to mine in some sort of strange cave game that had something to do with crafting. He couldn't do anything about it now, but he sure did have a plan to help Niter. Niter being Nathan. I have the character names written down, but I can't say Isaac's character name. It's nothing. It's just nothing. After Isaac ran forward, Burnell moved into action and pole vaulted towards the Tinkerer. Over the Tinkerer, in fact. And on his way down, smacked his head as he was ever so gracefully falling with style over him. The elf warrior, who took notice of our resident demon vessel, moved towards him and attempted to attack, but he hit the wall, failing his attack. Isaac then scoffed at him and quickly ran past him to go help Nathan. Mr. Elf, who we found out can do absolutely nothing, attempts to stop him by putting a flag in his path, but forgot that he misplaced it. I don't know, he left it at home or something. And Isaac gets away to the area that Nathan and other hostages are shackled in and breaks the chain holding them by throwing a card at the chains. The elf warrior is now very frustrated, but he will continue to do nothing, so we don't need to talk about him anymore until the end. Bayonet warrior then moves over to our good pal Brunel and absolutely decimates him in a 1v1, landing a critical hit, dealing half of Brunel's damage, or half of Brunel's health, putting him 6 feet under. Now, Brunel's character is not dead. There is a section that explains what happens if you go to 0 health, which I may explain another day, or you guys will see when it happens again. While the warrior distracts Brunel, the Tinkerer moves away, but is then chased by Trey, who happens to be attracted to the light bulb on the Tinkerer's gun. It took Moth a couple hits, but he managed to just decapitate the Tinkerer. And as the Tinkerer goes down, the light bulb flickers on and off. And as he falls to the ground, it stops blinking and is just off. After his gun stopped glowing, Prey lost interest and moved to deal with the warrior who wasn't useless that put Brunel 6 feet under. Speaking of which, upon seeing the Tinkerer get decapitated, the useless warrior starts to run away. And he would have gotten away with it too, were it not for Isaac, fellow. Well, I just read that entirely wrong. Were it not for that Isaac fellow who threw a card from across the cave and hit him right in his tendon with extreme precision, making him trip, fall, and be in the knockdown state. While all this was happening, Nathan was busy setting up his summons in order to pay back the bandits tenfold. He took too long setting up his summons though, and almost all of the bandits were already out of commission by the time he set up. He did manage to get the killing blow on the priest though, so he's not too upset. With the rest of his team gone and his movements hindered, the useless warrior, who was quite easy to finish off, since he was in a knockdown state, he couldn't really run away. Didn't have his flags on him. And that was that combat. Combat over, Nathan got to work to healing Brunel with one of his summons help, and they went to go talk to the other people who were captured. The group in question was a merchant that was traveling with some of his bodyguards. He introduces himself as Egon and thanks them for saving him and his people. He then asks the party if they could guide his group back to Pure Dawn, and the party accepts. But before they leave the cave, they do go further into the cave to look for more bandits, if there are any more bandits, and for the bandits' loot stash. Party of 4 then walks forward to the next part of the cave and comes to find 2 paths. Isaac knows that one path leads to almost certain death, while the other path leads to the bandit's treasure room. Isaac attempts to get Trey into the certain death room to no avail. They then go down the path to the bandit cave and find a trap. Isaac knows what the trap is. He says it is a one-time trap to Trey, and Trey's like, "Oh, I got this," and Trey walks into the trap. As soon as he steps onto the trap, he is then impaled from underneath him, rooting him in place. The spikes come up, stab his feet, stay in, can't move, and from the wall, fire comes out, almost killing Trey. He is now stuck in place, burnt, and very hurt. Isaac sees this as an opportunity and runs back to where the magic artifact that the bandits were looking for is located to pick it up. The artifact in question is a golden pocket watch with a spell of time imbued into it. What spell? We'll keep watching the series and maybe you'll find out. He then comes back to find that Nathan and Brunel had pulled out Moth forcefully and incapacitated him by doing so. They take some time to patch him up and then move on to the treasure room and loot it for all the things valuable. They find some cursed armors, cool weapons, that's all dandy. After this, they walk out, go back to the group of people, and head back to Pure Dawn with them. The quest is turned in just fine, they get their money, and they're like, let's reconvene later. But, just before the session ends, Isaac and Trey have a discussion with each other of, are they going to help the trickster steal from the castle? They have planned to help the trickster steal from the castle. And that's the end of session 1.5. Now, I actually have something to say about Trey. He will not be a part of the campaign for now. I don't know if this will change or not later on. However, some things came up with Trey and his personal life that he cannot go in the campaign anymore. So our good friend Moth shall no longer be in the campaign. Very sad, but I did grab another friend who likes D&D, so hopefully he will be a good fit for the party and the D&D session as well. But that's it. Thanks for listening. Come see the next part of the Tales of Pyxolav in the coming days. Yeah, peace out.